Hey Gloomers, welcome back to Nerdhaven. My name is Mike, and today I just wanted to talk about the announcement of Gloomhaven 2nd Edition. It was announced today on a live stream with Isaac and some of the other developers as part of the backer kit promo for the upcoming Gloomhaven RPG. And I do need to share, I'm under NDA as a playtester for this, so I can only talk about things that are public info. But I did want to share some of my thoughts, some of my initial feelings going into this when I first learned about it, and how that sort of evolved over time. I think the feedback that I've seen on Reddit and other places on the internet has been a bit mixed. Some questions, and there's similar questions to kind of what I had, and having had some time to kind of digest some of it and see the whole process through. I just kind of want to share those thoughts, and maybe it'll help some others kind of come to some similar realizations. So with that, let me kind of just jump in and say a lot of people are really excited about the balance changes that are teased. There's a lot of story revision that's been talked about. The main overarching story is the same, but the flow of how the story progresses and the scenarios and the paths that you choose, even the play of the scenarios, all of that's been completely reworked and fine-tuned. Your classes that were super overpowered or maybe not fun to play before, many of them have been totally reworked. In some cases, more minor changes, but some pretty big updates. On the live stream, they focused on some of the artwork and they talked about balance changes. And I think, it was exciting to see that. I actually hadn't seen the artwork myself before the live stream. But I also feel like that caused the message to be that this was sort of Gloomhaven with a little bit of a paint job. And I think that's a bad way to look at this. This is really it's not a remaster, it's a remake of Gloomhaven. It's going to feel like Gloomhaven. The rules are basically Frosthaven rules, so that wasn't much different from Gloomhaven, but it's going to feel like a much better, more polished product. And I think I've seen, people are concerned about, well, who's this for? I'm not going to pay to buy a new version of this. I want access to these classes, and I don't want to have to buy a whole new box. And I get that, and I understand why that can, maybe be the initial reaction, because that's the reaction I had. One of the things that I thought about was people have their favorite classes, and they have a lot of memories if they've played Gloomhaven, in particular with those classes. And when they get changed, some people are going to look at it and say, "Oh my God, you ruined my favorite class. I don't want to buy this." And you don't have to. But I think for people who are fans of the Gloomhaven universe and continue to kind of live in this as a hobby, there's probably a desire to feel like you have to collect everything and you want to experience everything. And it's tough, but where I've sort of come down on this is having to take a step back and look at this from a different perspective. The reality is that the Gloomhaven products that were, originally printed were sold out on the Cephalofair store. So at that point, Cephalofair needs to decide, okay, I guess we need to print more copies if we want to sell more copies. And with the RPG coming out, they have Frosthaven out now. There's all new icons, there's new card styles, there's a whole new, really genre or segment that they're breaching into with the RPG. All of these are using that new style, and the RPG is using Gloomhaven classes. And this is part of the backer kit announcement for the RPG. So if you're going to have all the Gloomhaven classes released in an RPG using Frosthaven icons and Frosthaven cards and a lot of Frosthaven rules, and I would suspect that the RPG will eventually evolve to more than just this core set of rules. It may have some sort of Frosthaven pack in the future, and who knows where it will go. If you're going to be printing new copies of Gloomhaven, why wouldn't you take the opportunity to refresh the product? And sure, you could make some just small minor balance changes to some of the classes and give the cards a facelift, but I think there were other opportunities that the developers looked at and said, hey, there's also some feedback on the experience of the story and maybe some of the storylines that didn't feel compelling or their resolution wasn't as clear as it could have been. A lot of people felt underwhelmed by the sort of the final act, I guess, of the game. And so, with all of these things, it's almost a question of why wouldn't you take this opportunity to go back and, um, modernize the game, make it so that if you are a fan of Gloomhaven and you want to recommend Gloomhaven to somebody that you're friends with who hasn't played the game, and you now know Frosthaven's out, and Frosthaven's so much more polished, and it's better, and it's bigger, it's kind of hard to recommend Gloomhaven. It's almost like, well, you kind of should go back and play it from the beginning, and it's almost like you're putting in work to get to what is ultimately the better thing. And if you're a fan of Gloomhaven and you want more people to experience it, I would want people to experience a better version of it if they could. And so that's why I've really kind of come around on this, and I'm excited for this. I don't know if I'll play through it. If I end up playing a new campaign with new people, then we'll probably pick up the new version and play through that. Um, you know, and I think that's a good thing for the product, and it's a good thing for the longevity of the Gloomyverse, or whatever we're going to call that. So those are kind of my thoughts on it. I'm really excited for people to learn more of the details that haven't yet been shared publicly. In particular, the classes I think are where people are most interested, but there's more to it than that. And I think the reputation system was touched on in the live stream today, but how that reputation system ties into the scenarios and the rest of the campaign is pretty interesting and a lot of fun. There's going to be more information to come, as they talked about in the stream. This will sort of be trickled out and shared over time. And, I don't know what the timeline is. I haven't been given any, details to that. But those are my thoughts. So I'm curious to hear from you. What were your thoughts? What's your reaction? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Leave your comments down below. I'll engage you. I'm curious to kind of talk about this with folks. And, yeah, that's about it. So look forward to catching you on the next one, and have a good one.